they will interchange those words, vision, strategy, and plan, as the same thing, and they are distinctly different. So the first piece is, do you even know what those are and how they are different? Because they are not the same. So obviously, with the work that we do with clients is to get clear what the vision is and the components of vision in the simplest way possible, what the strategy is, which takes longer. It takes longer. People throw the word strategy around and strategic around in very irresponsible ways when they have not actually done the work to get clear on that, which can take months or years at times. And then the executable plan, right? Oftentimes we show up at a business, they've got a spreadsheet that's got some budget projection numbers for the year, and that's their vision, strategy, and plan. I'm like, no. That's a spreadsheet with some numbers in it.
So, hey guys, this is John Gamatis, and I'm back here today again with Exit Momentum founder and head coach Cullen Talley, and two of Exit Momentum certified business coaches, Jason Ambeau and Julie Couret. So, here's our conversation for today. There's a lot of organizations out there right now who are trying to communicate their vision, their strategy, and their plan throughout their organization. And trying to do this top to bottom can be challenging. It's hard when you're a small organization, but the more that you grow and the more that things get spread out, this can become even more challenging. And at the end of the day, how we share vision, strategy, and plan within our organizations can really make or break success. Like, it can hold back growth or it can accelerate it. It's one of the most important things that a business does is how they communicate. So, Cullen, I know this has been on your mind lately. You're the one who brought this topic up. Why don't you kick this off for us? As you're working with clients and you're having these conversations, how important is it that we communicate vision, strategy, and plan well throughout our organizations?
Yeah, thanks, John. Good to be with you and the rest of the team today. So here's what I'd say: it's incredibly important. We all know that. Like that's not a mystery. That's not new. If that's new to you, you don't belong to be an owner. You shouldn't be an owner of a business. You don't belong. Like sell it, go get a job, do something else. But the challenge is how and when and what these words actually mean. What I find oftentimes when we're talking to our clients and in the early days and certainly prospects is they will interchange those words, vision, strategy, and plan, as the same thing, and they are distinctly different. So the first piece is, do you even know what those are and how they are different? Because they are not the same. So obviously, with the work that we do with clients is to get clear what the vision is and the components of vision in the simplest way possible, what the strategy is, which takes longer. It takes longer. People throw the word strategy around and strategic around in very irresponsible ways when they have not actually done the work to get clear on that, which can take months or years at times. And then the executable plan, right? Oftentimes we show up at a business, they've got a spreadsheet that's got some budget projection numbers for the year, and that's their vision, strategy, and plan. I'm like, no. That's a spreadsheet with some numbers in it. That is not a vision. That is not a strategy. And it's sort of a financial plan. And then I often like to know, how often do you hit that number that you put in that nice little spreadsheet? How often do you update that number, and how have you shared it, right? So that's the first piece. So is getting clear on those components. The second then is creating them in a way that is able to be shared with the rest of the team. We said that's so important, and the business owners know that, but oftentimes they make it too complicated and they try to shove too much in it, right? It's almost like trying to eat we're right in the holiday season right now, eating an entire holiday meal in one bite. It's impossible to digest that. You just get indigestion. Your people can't absorb it, right? So the first piece is it in these small bite-sized chunks, right? So is it able to be absorbed and digested by our folks? Second, we've got to repeat it. It's got to happen. You can't just do it once a year. You can't have this one meeting and then expect that to last for the entire year. So there's getting clarity in each one of the sections. There is then getting it simplified, continue to pressure test it, and then building a system of sharing it over and over and again. And some people say, well, I share it every day. I'm like, well, that's bullshit. I was like, first off, and if you do, then you're not as productive. So quit with your I share it every day, because that's not true. And if you do, you're less effective as an organization. There is a proper cadence to that. We prescribe at least quarterly. Some people do it monthly, but we prescribe at least quarterly for the entire organization. And it is the repetition of this quarter over quarter over quarter. Our clients, Julie's clients, Jason's clients, my clients tell us the first time, it was good. The second time, better. Third time, it's when they get into that third, fourth, fifth time, and they're a year into this process and people have heard it multiple times, it really starts to sink in and get roots in the organization.
So Jason, I'm watching you as you're listening to this, and I can tell you're on the same page. Talk a little bit about what Cullen just shared and what you see as you're coaching organizations through this.
Well, I think what's interesting, if I could just add to what Cullen said, is 100% support literally every word he said. And to add to it, what I see happen is one of two things. Either an organization has paid some lip service to some mission statement that's just real, this self-serving, self-aggrandizing bunch of bullshit that they have, and it's on their website, and that's as far as it goes. And so they imagine that that's their vision and strategy, and that's their thing. And the truth is, if that's the case, they really don't understand how powerful it can be, right? Because they just paid lip service. They did the thing they thought they had to do that maybe their web designer said they needed. And then that's as far as it goes. So it never gets any deeper. The second thing that I see is they don't actually have this idea of digestible, right? This idea of like understandable, that people can really sink their teeth into it. And if it's not that, what happens is it gets diminished the further and further and further away that from the owner, from the founders, from the top of the organization. It gets watered down and watered down and watered down and watered down and watered down. And pretty soon unfortunately, sometimes your customer contact point, the people that are actually talking to the people that pay, they are not living those strategic visions. They're not executing according to those visions. They don't understand them or understand how they play into what they do. So the customer's not feeling those pieces because those individuals aren't feeling those pieces because they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places removed from that top, that pinnacle leader. So once again, it becomes useless. It becomes a really fun exercise. That was great. We did that once, right? I mean, I once went to a physical therapist and they had 12 of their values on this poster on the wall. And I'm like, man, look, there's 10 commandments, for heaven's sake. There's 12 values in this organization. Get out of here. So I asked the guys who's scraping pieces of plastic painfully over my hamstrings, which is your favorite one? He said, hell, I don't look at that shit, man. I said, really? I said, well, what is it? Well, the owners did that a couple of years ago. It just sits over there by their office. Nobody cares about that. And there you have it. There you have it.
Julie, I'm watching your reactions as you're hearing both of these guys talk about this, and I'm super curious to see where you go with this.
So the vision for the organization needs to be the filter through which everyone makes decisions. And while I don't love cliches, the devil is in the details here. And what this means is, as at every level of engagement, every level in an organization, everything I do, every decision I make, every way that I manage challenges and obstacles, and the way I engage with my peers and my own work needs to be done in the parameters of what has been laid out by the company, so that the individuals are not relying on their own decision-making factors. Well, that's how I would do it, or this is what works for me. And we see this a lot. We talk a lot about hot potatoing issues back and forth, or hot potatoing action items or deliverables to other people, because we're just winging it as we go. When you take a vision and then you apply it to the strategy and the execution, that's where it comes down to. You can have all these grand ideas about who you want to be. I've got folks that are struggling in the day-to-day, and that there's these big, huge gaps in communication that are causing messy problems, expensive problems, very avoidable problems. And at the same time, we're thinking in 10 years about these grand ideas. And it starts with getting crystal clear about how we do our business and what we're here for. And then what does that look like at every level, in every role? And that takes a lot of discipline and structure. And we talk a lot about and do it again and do it again and do it again, until the vision is now absorbed into every different department and role and how they operate.
So Cullen, when this is successful, when you've got businesses that are doing this well, what does that look like and how does it impact their results?
It's incredible, man. So they love working together, first off, because they feel like they're chasing something together. It's the same way that a group of musicians feels when they put out a great album or song. It's the same way a sports team feels when they win a championship or win a big game. It is this achieving that gets to happen in the organization. So first off, they're doing great work, right? And they're having fun at it when we see this. It's not that there aren't challenges. It's not that there aren't even challenges internally between people, right? We don't always see things, the same, and we need to have healthy conflict. But the other piece that shows up is it shows up in their numbers, their growth rate, their revenue. Most importantly, their gross and net profit. We can see businesses who have gotten clear in this, same industry, same opportunity, similar resources as available to them. And the profit margin for one in particular industry could be at 6% and the others at 21%. And they're like, and the 6% guys like, well, we just can't, our industry, blah, blah. I'm like, don't tell me you can't. I can literally, I'm not going to show you their books, but I could pull up books and show you same size company, same kind of market, same services. They are literally putting 15 more points to the bottom line. So stop with our industry. It's not right. So it shows up in how people act. The other thing is they attract talent at a rate and they retain talent. So you start adding all that. We're doing great work. We're having a good time. We're making more money, and that money allows us to continue to fuel growth and fuel our other passions in life as owners. And we're actually getting to go out and retain the talent that comes, which is always so hard as well inside of organizations.
I'm glad you brought that up because we did a past episode on recruiting and retention. And this ties directly into that. In talent acquisition and keeping talent on board, this is a really important part of that. Jason, from your perspective, how does this all work together?
So it's interesting because, once again, if you produce these things but you don't execute, right, you don't do something about it, then it's not really going to matter. And I think Julie said something important, that is that it's from a decision-making standpoint. So you have processes in place, right? And every process is not going to have, well, on Tuesdays after 4 o'clock on leap years when it's raining, you do it this way, right? It can't. So it's just high level, 20/80 Pareto principle sort of thinking. But what about all the gaps? What about all the spots between there? What about the decision? What about everything is nuanced? That's where you instruct your people to say it's very simple. Number one, you follow the processes that we have in place. Number two, when a situation arises that doesn't perfectly fit the process, AKA all of them, then you drive your decision through our values, right? And if you make a decision that followed the process and was made with consideration of our values, and it's the wrong decision, it's going to be okay. It's just a coaching opportunity now because you follow what we wanted you to do. If you make a decision that follows our processes and not within our values, you're looking out for you rather than the organization, now we've got a problem, right? And so instructing people on how to teach that, how to say, listen, you've got to make these important and tell your people, drive your decision through these values. And if you do, we're going to be fine, right? You're empowered to make some decisions, but this is the considerations you have to make those decisions. And that's where the rubber meets the road, where they actually begin to have an impact, as Cullen says, and I'll be damned where they show up at on the balance sheet, on the P&L.
So both of you, Julie and Jason, you've both talked about execution as being such an important part of this. So Julie, when execution isn't part of this, like you can have an awesome vision, an awesome strategy, and an awesome plan, and you're not executing on it, what are the pitfalls businesses run into?
So here's the deal when it comes to executing the vision, that we're looking for creating also an ideal employer situation. We want these organizations to be a optimal workplace environment to attract that talent. So let's break it down. We've got the vision, and then now we've implemented it into the various departments and the different segments of the organization. And that allows for the organization to have a consistent experience throughout. And this is where you see a lot of pitfalls with execution, because if one department gets the vision and they're well oiled, they're going to feel really frustrated with another department, and there's going to be internal clash. And when we think about talent retention and the inability to execute consistently throughout the organization, the department that's dysfunctional is they're in their own world, and who knows if they're unhappy or not. You know who are really going to lose? The people that are in the thriving department. They're going to get really annoyed quickly and frustrated that they keep hitting roadblocks. People like to win. It feels good to win, and people are going to stick around if they feel like they're making a difference and accomplishing a purpose. When you set them up for success via execution in their workplace, And the reason it's not just do well and process and make it happen, that it does need to be done through the vision, is because the vision truly does set up people on how to function. And if you have different segments, different leaders, even, or even a department bought in, but a leader who's not, you're going to have friction. And that's going to show up in how people operate. It has to be consistent throughout. It can't be this is how we do it and this is how we do it, because we're not separate. We're all part of one organization and we all impact each other. So how we have the vision, embrace it, all the organizations at the different levels. Now we're executing. Now we're all talking the same language and we're all rowing in the same direction. That's going to make me want to stay, show up, do better, and then tell my friends that they want to come work at this place instead. And they don't need to be where they're not appreciated and not making a difference wherever they happen to be.
Cullen, take that and run with it a little bit. What do you do with organizations where there isn't that alignment that Julie is talking about, where they're not aligned, they're not rowing in the same direction?
We quite simply facilitate them to either finding their way there or finding their way to somewhere else to work. It's that simple. We have to get on the same page. And sometimes that means family. Sometimes that has to do with ownership and equity. So if you're going to work with us and this team and these great, amazing coaches on the call today, you're going to have to be able to get on the same page, not perfectly and not in session one. Sometimes that takes a few months, and depending on what the story has been, if they've run into a financial challenge in the past and there's some things that make the owner nervous or whatever, maybe there are times we have to work our way through that. As long as we're seeing incremental progress, it's fine. But if somebody's just going to dig their heels in, it's pretty clear to us, and we just literally help shine a light on that, and we'll get involved. We'll help coach. We'll help break through that. So it's not like we're trying to get people fired and all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is, you cannot sacrifice that if you want to go where you say you want to go. And I tell teams this all the time: if you are unwilling to execute the plan and execute the small stuff on a daily and weekly basis, your vision's bullshit. Period.
Jason, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. So last week I was working with a client, and they've been disappointed with a particular leader, their leader of their warehouse, right? And some of the results that they're getting. And I think the guy's a great fit. So that's where I started with them. I said, wait a minute, time out. You guys are sounding like you're going down the let's fire this guy road. And I said, let's look at your core values. Let's look at what you believe in. Let's look at what's important to you. And let's see how he does, right? And he checks every box 100%. And the guy loves working there. He does a really good job. I said, so should we be talking about moving towards written warnings, or should we let's go dig in and see what the hell's going on and see if we can help this individual who fits our organization amazingly well and elevate his game. They wouldn't know that if they didn't have all that clarified. They wouldn't know what that list is, right? And they might focus on the one or two things that are real negative in this guy's performance right now. So I might spend the entire day with him. And what happened, and what Cullen alluded to, is that when we work with people, we expose the people that don't fit, and we expose those problems. And a lot of times we don't have to encourage an employer to take action because they go, oh, holy hell. Now I see. Right? Like this guy was always, but that, whatever. And we kind of excused it. Now we see what the problem is. And now we recognize it's not just my problem. He's creating a circle around this individual. It's a hot zone, right? Because he doesn't fit the organization. People are scared to interact with him. People don't want to work with that individual. You can't say anything about them because they lose their shit and all that kind of stuff. So the opposite of that, again, was what I did last week. Working with a guy was a tremendous fit, but we were able to recognize that because we have clarity in that area and say, great, I'm going to go spend a day with him, and I'm going to find out what it is. And I found out, right? And so we put together an executable plan to elevate his skill sets, and he began to perform in the way that they needed to perform. Part of his problem is the company's growing, and it's keeping up with the growth. It's not the same job that he was hired for even 12 months ago. It's changed. It's become more difficult at a brand new volume level. So we were able to identify those couple of things. We have a plan in place now to go to work on it for the first quarter. And my guess is they're going to be satisfied with his performance then. But we just got clarity about, let's not think about getting rid of him because he's not, quote unquote, doing the job as well as you want him to, because he's ideal. If we met him today, we'd hire him because he's an ideal candidate. Let's figure out what it is beyond that.
Absolutely. Well, and one of the things you're talking about is bringing the outside perspective that a coach can bring to the table. You guys as coaches are able to see things in your clients' businesses that they can't see because they're down in the weeds. They're blind to a lot of things, and you coming in from the outside bring a perspective that shines a light on a lot of those things. Julie, do you want to add anything to that?
We're doing more than just mirroring and being a sounding board. We're implementing and providing proven processes that have been tested and proven time and again with tools, implementable tools, versus we're brainstorming and we're riffing on ideas. We are creating structure. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. This is what works. This is how you solve problems. You don't have to stay in that same rut. If you stay in that same rut, we know exactly where it's going to get you. So instead of us trying to figure out some new crazy newfangled solution, we take organizations that are very successful, which is why they need to call us because they've hit this ceiling. But we bring in structure, accountability, and processes and resources that allow them to work through all of those hiccups because those are not going to go away. We cannot make those challenges disappear, but we provide function to get ahead of them and to close the gap on a lot of those issues where we can make a difference immediately simply by the way that we operate.
Absolutely. Cullen, I'm gonna hand this off to you. If I'm a business owner or I've got a team, we're trying to communicate vision, strategy, and plan up and down throughout the organization. Maybe we're struggling with it. Maybe we know there's room to improve it. How can I get engaged with Exit Momentum? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is to check with yourselves to say, do you have these components? And when we talk about vision, there are specific components. You heard Jason mention values. Do you have them? Are they used? Are they activatable? Right? Do you have a purpose statement that means something to you, that is literally the heart and soul of your business? Do you have a BHAG, a big, hair, audacious goal? That becomes your vision. And if I was to tell you we had to change them, would you want to literally fight me over that? Because if not, they're not right. Then if you look at your strategy, do you have ideal clients? Do you know what an ideal client is for you very clearly? I'm not talking about a marketing avatar. I'm talking about an ideal client. It doesn't mean that all your customers are that today, but who is your ideal client? What are your brand promises? What are the promises you make to the market? How do you measure that? What is your one phrase strategy that drives your economic engine and drives your flywheel? Do you have a visual representation of your strategy? What is your differentiated activities? How are you different than other folks? Like, these are the things that we wind up getting into. And then on the plan, do you have a 3-year very clear plan? Revenue, gross profit, net profit, key metrics, and as well as key descriptions of what's going to happen technologically, real estate, people, all that stuff. Do you have a 1-year plan with the same thing? Revenue, gross profit, net profit, 3 to 7 goals that drive what we call commitments in terms of rocks. Do you have a quarterly plan with those things? That's what I mean. When we say vision, strategy, plan, there's a very specific recipe for that. So if you have those things, fantastic. If you feel like you need an audit or an upgrade, reach out to us. We're happy to spend some time with you on that. But the bottom line is you need to make sure that you are committed to this, you are sharing this, and that you have those components. And oftentimes you have some, but you don't have them all. So you're trying to, we're down here primarily in South Louisiana. We know how to cook. There's certain dishes that require certain spices and certain things to go in that dish. And if you don't have them, it's hard to make that dish. This is the same thing for your business. So you can reach out to us at exitmomentum.com, set up a call. We're happy to do an audit of that for you, let you know what we see. And if we see you're in a good spot, we're going to tell you. We want to work with people that need to work with us. We're not dying for clients here. This is not some thing we got to hustle for in that same kind of way. So if you're good, we're going to tell you you're good. But we'd love to spend the time with you. So reach out via exitmomentum.com to book a call with myself or one of these amazing coaches on the call today.
Awesome. Fantastic conversation today, you guys. I appreciate you taking the time to talk about this. Appreciate what you shared. I'm going to walk away from this with a couple of things to chew on personally. So thank you for your time today. I appreciate all of you.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks.